Painting tab consists of several subtools, all with its own way of interacting with the painting system. From the edit, line, rectangle, ellipse, stamp, erase, and edit fill. Each one has its own sub-context with which you can use to adjust, change, or in some way affect painted images inside of the image workspace. There are two main ways to paint an image. One is with a flat color, the other is with an actual image itself. Much like the Tiles tab, we have a preview image or thumbnail with which what will tell us either the color that we are going to be using or the image that we're going to be painting with. We can open up the tint to change the color of the image that we're about to paint with the line tool. I'll change this to red, and this can either be adjusted by the sliders at the bottom or simply clicking anywhere inside of the color preview. I'll select red, and as we begin to paint across our image workspace, you can see that I can draw out a particular line here. Holding down Control will allow me to snap to the grid, or I can simply turn on the grid snap, and then holding Control will allow me to ignore the grid and wherever I want to place this. I'll delete this layer and create a new one here. These also work exactly the same way with the rectangle and the ellipse tool. With the rectangle, I can draw out a rectangle. Holding down Shift will maintain a square, or will maintain the ratio between the sides. And the same with the ellipse tool. Holding down Shift will allow me to draw out a perfect circle. Using Control again will allow me to either snap or not snap to the grid depending on what has been selected. Also, using Alt will allow me to draw out from the center. Thus, using Alt and Shift will make sure that I draw out from the center a perfect circle when using the ellipse tool. And holding Control will allow that now to snap to the grid. Also, in this system, we have in the swatches the ability to switch to the fill element, which is either, again, going to be an image fill or a completely flat color. I'll select a blue. Now, while drawing out, we will get the line that goes around the outside and the fill element in the middle. Again, switching to the rectangle, we get the same thing, but in the shape of a rectangle. The line tool, while using this, a line and a fill element, will allow us to draw any shape that we wish. A unique feature to the painting area is the ability to control the overlap elements. Here we have normal, add, subtract, and intersect. The way that these will function is that as long as all of the information is exactly the same in our fill and our line element, we are able to add on to existing images. Therefore, selecting the add functionality here, I will be able to add in all of these elements together, creating a single element with a single line around the outside and a single element on the inside, which is either going to be a repeating fill image or a solid color. From this element, I can also select subtract, and from here, we're able to remove elements, also maintaining the same type of line around the outside and the same initial elements that we had already previously created. Using this back and forth, we're able to create any shape that we wish inside of the image workspace. To further enhance this ability, we are able to switch over to the edit and see all of the elements that are able to be moved to adjust the image further. By taking one of these points, we're able to click on it and drag to change the shape further. We are even able to select and delete elements to remove them from the image. Selecting all of these and deleting them will remove the hole from the middle of this image, as well as all of these elements here. Looking at the subcontext, we are now able to see that there are many options that we can do inside of this sub-tab. We can duplicate all of this as line-of-sight walls. Since metadata does not exist inside of the painting area, we are able to create our own very easily by using the same system and duplicating it into the wall system to automatically generate any line of sight that we might need. We are also able to remove, add points, adjust points, and so on, as well as simplify areas if they become too complex. Selecting these elements, we are able to simplify these selected strokes and reduce it down to a much more manageable amount. Groups of these can be selected and moved, or single ones can be done independently. By using this in conjunction with the other tools, we're able to go back and forth to further create any image that we wish. We're even able to select these middle bits and move them around as almost like an independent image on its own, even though it's a hole in the middle of our image. This will enable us to create almost anything that we could possibly want inside of the image workspace in the painting area. To further illustrate this, let us switch over from using solid colors to images. Now, all images that are related to the painting tab, much like the tiles have the tiles element attached to them, all images intended to be used inside of the image workspace in the painting tab. There are two types of naming conventions, one for brush, which will be the line element that goes around the outside, or as used as an independent line, and as a fill element. So we have brushes and fills. Simply drag an image from the Assets window into the swatches to set up for an image paint. I will also switch over to the fill element Some of these subcontexts are dependent on what swatch is selected, and some are dependent on the overall of the entirety of the image, which would be a combination of the brush and the fill. So for example, let's make sure that we have the normal overlap selected. We have the size of our initial stroke, and this is our brush itself. Holding down Control and using the mouse wheel, I'm able to enlarge or reduce this image. If I switch over to the fill element, we can see that the size, the width, and height of the image has now changed. This reflects this particular image. If I wanted to change the scaling of this image, I could do it with the fill swatch selected. Again, rotating back to the stroke, we can see that these numbers have now changed. Then these reflect the actual image that is now being displayed on top, which is the brush or the stroke element. Switching over to the rectangle tool, you can now demonstrate the usage of image fill and stroke elements. As you can see, the image is now around the outside as if it is a wall, and the fill element, as if it were a floor, now fills in all elements inside of the brush strokes. Again, changing these elements to add will allow me to add additional elements to this and even subtract, maintaining the same exact workflow regardless if it is image-based or simply color-based. Additional elements that can be seen here are corner types. When creating the first initial element, we can set our color type between bevel, Having an angle on the corner itself, round, and miter. All of these elements must be exactly the same in order to add to additional or pre-existing components. These will not be able to be joined because the corner type does not match the other two. Changing this corner type and maintaining the add functionality will show you that this will now add to that element, but not the others. Again, we're able to switch into our edit mode, move elements around either as their entirety or on their individual elements themselves. And again, we're able to remove these elements if we so wish. All of this is completely true with the ellipse tool as well.